Congratulations! Now get the f off my screen. Reading. Also, is this a Ghostbusters flick or is this Game of Thrones? I just want you to know that if you're starting that all over again, George R.R. Martin still won't have the 6th book done after you make that 5th movie. Looks like the rescue crew arrives just in time to witness the emergency, which makes me wonder why they were called in the first place. What good are hoses when they're attached to absolutely nothing anyway? Oh, come on, the first day of fire school is all about how fire makes things hot, especially conductive materials. Great, fantastic. Whenever I think of ghosts and ghost lore, I'm always reminded of how closely the terrifying stories resemble The Day After Tomorrow. The movie now suddenly cuts to modern times and never bothers to explain how the ancient fire master was blamed for the death of an entire room of men, escaped prison, got their ball back, and then passed it down to their descendants. Sure, after showing that places in the U.S. other than New York exist in the last Ghostbusters, let's go back. Oklahoma was a steaming hotbed of gozer activity, but I'm sure all the other states in the Union are fine. The second spooky thing to happen in this movie is the ectomobile zipping from Cole Haan down to Roma Pizza, and then somehow teleporting back to Cole Haan to barely escape the manhole. You went past Cole Haan's, guys. No need to go back to be closer to the danger on our count.
Can we not do jokes right now, please? I feel like I'm gonna puke.
Me too, because here we are passing the same pizza joint again.
We're all being paid with memories.
They're doing this shit for free? Listen, people, if we're not going to follow the teachings of Heath Ledger's Joker and do stuff that we're good at for free, then I don't want to live in that world. Also, while it's clear that Winston funds the Ghostbusters these days, the arrangement is extremely murky and will continue throughout the movie on a wide variety of topics. I guess he provides them with what amounts to allowances for groceries and they get the free room and board, but what about healthcare and other expenses?
It's the Hell's Kitchen sewer dragon.
Oh, I wonder how much money you can get for its trading card. Also, you know why movies like Ghostbusters shouldn't try sequels decades after the original? Stuff like the Hell's Kitchen sewer dragon, which seems to take the Jurassic World philosophy that people are bored with the usual shit, so let's create some bullshit to engage the tweens.
I'm Mom. You call me Mom.
You call me Gary. Or whatever you want. I don't.
There's just too fucking much going on in this fucking scene. I know the movie has to spell out all the problems this family will have to deal with over the course of the next hour, but it's like trying to read a book while it's in a washing machine.
You stay inside this car.
I have a ghost to bust.
Okay, so the kid is a little shit and doesn't do what mom wants, and the mom is a big shit for putting her in the car at risk in the first place. Please don't spend the rest of the movie on this theme. I don't need to hate parental relationships more than I already do.
Get back in here!
If Callie's so worried about her daughter's safety, why isn't she telling Gary to fucking pull over? Apparently, you don't need any real accuracy in shooting these proton packs anymore. They are built in with CGI assist, which allows for terrible shooting that still gets the job done. I'm not sure if this is just a simple cops and donuts cliche, or if this is a full-fledged ad for Dunkin' Donuts, but I am confident in my right to sin this twice. This whole scene reminds me of that finale in that awful Tom and Jerry movie where Tom and Jerry had to work together to chase down, well, I don't remember, but the movie sucked. Also, considering the capabilities of this drone, why did they even bother with the RC car in the first place? Is it so, for a fleeting moment, Finn Wolfhard's character doesn't look completely worthless? We're at the Brooklyn Bridge exit now? I'm telling you, if there's a way to ride the sewer dragon's tail from the fashion district to the municipal archives building in under 3 minutes, no one would be cheering for its demise. People would don sewer-resistant scuba gear and line up for a ride on that ghostly garbage flight.
Later, Gator.
Even though the movie tries to make it seem relevant, I don't even think they needed the proton pack with the way this went down. Looks like they could have simply sent the drone with the trap and swallowed this thing whole without an issue. I don't understand a fucking thing about this sequence. Gary crashes into the bikes and you see them sort of flying in front of the car, but they're on their way down before he starts steering back. Now all of a sudden it's like 8 ET bikes are flying in front of the car when we already saw them crash into the ground. Yes, there are ghosts in the story. No, I don't think that's relevant. Movie inserts old footage of real National Ghostbusters ads, including a cereal and toys, plus the Ghostbusters music video. These are things, if you remember, that were tied to a giant blockbuster film that played nationwide. This movie is suggesting that real-life heroes who only operated in New York became such a phenomenon that they were given licensing deals worth millions of dollars. So now I'm wondering why I never saw Sully Sullenberger cereals or action figures. Also, this makes me wonder why nerds all across the world didn't try to create their own ghost-busting equipment and start their own business. If I recall, in the original movie, Omni Magazine went through the science of the proton pack, which means a bunch of enterprising people would have built some shit in their garages. It's insane how these movies have a lack of imagination when it comes to their worldwide appeal.
Today's question isn't who you're going to call, it's who's going to pay for this mess.
Their insurance company. Right? We're not letting them drive around without insurance, right? Also, the TV turns off, and then we see a figure seated with their back turned in the screen's reflection, which means whoever this wasn't even watching this bullshit. Now the scene keeps going, and we see that this person's back is facing the camera, which makes me wonder, where the f was the TV? It's not on his desk, and it's nowhere in front of the Ghostbusters either. Furthermore, the only reason why this person isn't being shown is because he's a legacy character making a dramatic reveal. Look, we all love Richard Thornburg and love seeing him get punched at the end of these movies, but is he really worth a Norman Bates mother reveal?
Ceiling's leaking again.
Sounds like a fun mystery for a boy detective.
Yeah, the mystery of the black mold, super fun.
There's black mold, and the parent figures aren't concerned with handling it themselves? I guess we're cheering for true dysfunction today. Man, Cannibal Girls must have been a super huge hit in Ghostbusters land to get another reference within the series. I mean, I remember the scene in Ghostbusters 2 when all those people were running out of the theater, but damn, you'd think there'd be a special Criterion Blu-ray in this world, not a shitty VHS. Wait, are you telling me they have had that trap sitting in the car this whole time? Why was that not the first thing they took care of when they got home? That motherfucker is smoking! Let's talk about the real issue going on in this house, which is the location of their washer and dryer. She's gone down several flights of stairs, and there has to be a better location on the floor where you can live rather than the floor where the plot needs you to be. The light is blinking, they're looking up at it, the containment unit is shaking, and they probably won't do anything about that so that the movie can movie later.
Welcome to Repossessed.
Ray's YouTube show contains neither a Leslie Nielsen nor a Linda Blair.
Oh, sorry, lady. The hammer gets the views.
Yeah, but can you not tell people that their shit might get smashed before they come on the show? Ray tests the sphere with the PKE meter, and the energy is off the charts. But I've got one question. If the orb has the ability to trap a powerful spirit inside of it, how is the reading that strong? How does firing up a PKE meter allow the spirit inside Ghost Jail to use its powers on the outside of the ball and go beyond that all the way to the Ghostbusters headquarters?
Full bore convective spatter.
Oh no, half spattering convective things are fine, but full and boring? No!
So you've just been stuffing ghosts in there since 1984?
I'm guessing the answer is yes, but how many ghosts are we talking about here? The first Ghostbusters had quite a lot, and the second one had a handful, but mostly it was all about that red slime. Ever since then, ghosts were so rare, the business shut down because nobody made any movies until 2021. You guys make it sound like this has been a thriving business for 40 straight years. I was mad at the adults about the mold thing, but now I see that the baby adult man has opted to sleep directly below the black mold drip. There are so many better decisions to make here, and Trevor's Darwin-esque death is inevitable and shall be celebrated.
What the actual hell?
Not immediately recognizing Marjorie the trash heap. Show some fucking respect, kid. You're in the presence of royalty. I'll remove all the sins if this movie becomes the stealth sequel to Searching for Bobby Fischer. Ghost suddenly comes up with one of those fake French chess moves like en passant and even makes up new chess vocabulary in the process. Look, I'm not going to say I know every move these two are making because the movie makes that impossible. But since you guys come here for my incisive chess analysis, I'd figure I'd give it a go. Phoebe Castle's here, but I want you to see that Melody's remaining knight is all the way back near her defense, and she hasn't even moved her queen yet. They have a conversation without moving any pieces, then they make 3 moves below the camera, and now suddenly Melody has her knight attacking and ready to sacrifice her queen to get a checkmate using only her knight. Aside from Phoebe's own terrible chess that allowed this to happen, there aren't enough moves to make this a thing. Anyway, I feel right criticizing this because I watched Alexandra Botas playing poker one time.
I burned alive in a horrifying tenement fire.
So why does that mean that the flames get to have ghosts too?
You're lucky that you're not all crispy.
I died before my face melted off.
Yeah, but doesn't that mean that the rest of your body should be crispy? Instead, it looks like you just stole Lenny Kravitz's fire dress from Katniss Everdeen.
I'm Melody.
Cool name.
Thanks. It was a family name.
I was being sarcastic.
Not only was that a terrible example of sarcasm, but it's also the most unnecessary use of it ever uttered in a film.
Then what is the best part?
Doing this.
Literally being ghosted. And here's some total bullshit. Phoebe moves her knight here, which is an illegal move because Melody's bishop has it pinned there. She can't move it without being in check, but she moves the knight and this is allowed, which leads to the checkmate because nobody knows the rules. Also, if you want to do some post-game analysis after Melody leaves, you're out of luck because Phoebe's pieces suggest she was playing white when she was clearly playing black during the last game. The entire board is different. Yes, there are ghosts in this story. No, I don't think that's relevant. Let's take a quick look at the news. Global economy to experience strong growth this winter. Underneath this headline, which made the front page, mind you, is an article filled with the type of vague shit I never thought I'd see on a movie newspaper again. But here we are. Furthermore, there was a merger between 2 tech giants, and they're still trying to figure out which tech giants merged. In national news, law enforcement officers in Colorado discovered a drug den in a residential area. Police are doing an investigation, so you can see why this is national, because no other drug busts happened in any other states. It is a rare occurrence.
This building is the finger in the dam.
And nobody decided to tell the people inside the building that this particular fact was really important. For reasons.
Okay, so the ghost compactor broke. Can you guys just build a new one?
We already have.
But it was super not important to install it way before now.
Once upon a time, this was a Triborough aquarium. Most recently, it's been more of a squatter's paradise and rave venue.
But I assure you, we don't need security of any kind because we use a key card to get into this one room.
Ray Stantz has generously provided us with a collection of spirit-loaded items.
It's exactly like the room the Warrens keep Annabelle in, minus the Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, but oddly, the exact same amount of McKenna Grace.
How long would it take to move the ghosts from the firehouse to here?
Or, stick with me now, how long would it take to build one at the firehouse? Also, if Winston is basically on their team, why is it taking so long for him to show them the lab? Why so secretive? This movie never once explores why. It just has a coy Annie Potts tell Paul Rudd not to ask any questions about it.
This spry little weasel can occupy any inanimate manner it wants. Extremely dangerous.
That's why we built the perfect replica of a 1970s living room. If it's going to be a cheeky little bugger, it has to be with items from the least expensive thrift store. Haphazard display of fruit, keeping your landline and old nasty phone for nostalgia alone. Remember how the ghost storage was the big problem? Yeah, that's why they came here. In the meantime, they show off this contraption that comes straight out of The Fly, and what was it made for? It was made to suck ghosts out of inanimate objects, which is not exactly a big Ghostbusters staple. Oh sure, we saw the red slime making inanimate objects do crazy shit in Ghostbusters 2, but the crew doesn't really run into spirits possessing dolls too often, and yet they spent millions of dollars on this thing. I feel like I'm being pushed into this plot rather than something organic leading me here.
Let's see what you've got in you.
It kills me that this ball had PKE readings that were off the charts and Ray somehow didn't sell it enough to save this for a day when all the important people could be here to witness what was inside. Instead, they just leave it up to a couple people working overnight like they're at Walmart stocking Mountain Dews. Also, the other thing about this lab, they don't seem to have any safety equipment. No glasses, no gloves, no masks. But there isn't even an eye wash station.
Until then, the proton fields are down.
Asking your audience to believe the ghost-busting crew were smart enough to invent the tech to contain and keep ghosts, but also dumb enough to overlook a backup generator in case the power goes out.
Blasting!
Do you even need to blast the ghost, though? This franchise has already proven you don't really need the proton pack as long as the trap is in the right place. I always thought the proton packs were used to control a ghost that was flying around and shit. Just open the trap in her general direction and you should be good to go.
If I wanted to hit you, then I would have, but I didn't.
Skip.
That's our car.
Skip.
I mean, you're...
Skip. If I haven't mentioned it already, I think the fact that the ghosts inside this orb can project their ice outside of the trap as far as it wants to go is a massive cheat for this movie. Not to mention that they can mind control the other ghosts. What good is a magic trap if it allows this much shenanigans? The little possessor ghost escapes and it flies over to Podcast's bag, supposedly on the orders of Garaka, but it doesn't really matter. By total luck that no one could predict, Podcast ends up at the New York Public Library, where Patton Oswalt just so happens to have a recording that Garaka needs to get out of his prison. Also, somehow nobody at the lab notices that the possessor ghost is missing. The two main people at the lab, Lucky and Lars, show up at Nadim's door in the next scene, and I guess they shut down the lab for the day without doing a bed check. Obviously, the answer to my question is going to be because the movie is going to use them later, but why did Nadim's grandmother have Garaka's horns? It was the king and his men who cut them off. Later we learn the fire masters imprisoned him in the orb, which seems like all that would be necessary for them to guard. But it's almost as if on their way out of town, they saw the horns like Loki in Odin's vault and said, hell yeah, let's take those with us.
Would a sex dungeon have these chains?
Yeah, definitely.
Whether yes or no, touching the maybe sex chains and not immediately reaching for the pocket disinfectant that we all carry since 2020.
I found this room after she died while I was looking for some Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, but the door leading into this room just has a bunch of spices on it. I have no idea why you were looking for Pop-Tarts there, much less pushing on the door that you don't even know was a door.
What does that mean?
It means you're coming with us.
He agrees to this.
Dr. Stans, I don't think that this is a legal parking space.
It's not, but please allow me to step aside from my usual award-winning and trusted criticism of film to be a dickhead for just 1 second. There's no reason why the movie can't just whisk us straight to the crew talking to Patton Oswalt right now. But this movie is so up its own ass to show us the New York Public Library again, a classic Ghostbusters setting, that we now must waste time for nostalgia. They even bring back John Rothman as the library administrator so that you can go, hey, that's the dude from the first one, and they linger on him so that your brain can fully digest it.
After Garaka helped conquer half of Central Asia,
The movie thinks it's going to sneak one of those animated history lesson montages by me just because it looks different from the usual animated history lesson montages, and I always sniff out an animated history lesson montage movie. Always.
but Garaka didn't take too kindly to that and went on a bit of a murder bender.
Well, wait, what? So you're saying that after the king captured, branded, broke, and disfigured Garaka, they pulled off his horns and he was just able to go on a murder spree?
His plan was to raise an army of the undead and wage war on humanity by channeling fear into a weapon.
I hate stories that leave more questions than answers. If they broke and disfigured him and removed the largest source of his power, how would he have had the strength to do that? Furthermore, if that's how powerful he was after being broken, how powerful was he before that? Why did he need to serve any king? Furthermore, isn't Garaka's real beef with the king who was suspicious of him? Why did he have to wage a war on all of humanity? You know what? F this guy. There. I said it.
Fire masters, who used fire and brass to trap the evil god inside of an orb.
But what about the first humans that ripped off his horns? They weren't cool firebenders, they were normal. How did they get strong enough to take him out? And why aren't the regular-ass humans around the table asking this question? And why, pray tell, is this hooker still here in the library? I know the Ghostbusters ran away from her in the first movie, but that suggests they never came back to finish the job even after they knew what they were doing. Also, this fucking ghost is still shushing people and then not following her own demands and immediately screaming. What an asshole.
Now it'll be impossible to find.
And yeah, it should be, but for reasons unknown, the possessor ghost ends up getting inside one of the public library lions outside and waits for the tension to build before revealing itself, instead of simply getting the out of there and delivering the recording to its master.
Podcast, do something!
He says, after clearly doing nothing.
The lions, Phoebe. They're iconic. People love them.
Did no one see the lion running around on the steps? Why are we, and especially Winston, acting like ghosts don't exist in this universe when everyone knows they do? I know the cops saw that and so did like 20 witnesses, not to mention cameras that picked it up, but I guess we're gonna act like we're in Angels in the Outfield whenever something weird goes down.
For 40 years, I've been waiting to say these words. The Ghostbusters are finished.
Considering all the movies that have come out since then, I'm with you, pal.
You could have got yourself hurt. You could have got those kids.
For the last 3 minutes or so, the characters in this movie are reacting to what happened at the end of the public library scene, where Phoebe was having trouble blasting a stone lion that was possessed by a tiny red ball of light. And yes, that was dangerous and bad, and 100% unpredictable. Nobody could have known that the possessor ghost was inside Podcast's bag. All Ray and Phoebe were trying to do was ask someone at the library about the orb, which should be 0% dangerous. What's more, nobody stops to ask what Phoebe should have done when there was a stone lion about to kill Ray and possibly run free all over Manhattan. Was she supposed to go into emo Peter mode?
But you need to find a new way to do the things you love before it kills you.
It's like the movie forgot that Winston was braggadociously showing us around his top secret, highly dangerous ghost zoo a few scenes back.
Phoebes.
So, to be clear, Mom is totally fine with her daughter picking a lock with a police warning on it, but she is not okay with her going to the library with a couple friends to research a relic and defending herself so she doesn't die. Got it.
There's something strange in the neighborhood. Who are they gonna call?
In a scene probably calling for sincerity, Carrie goes full on into William Shatner does Rocket Man mode. Might as well show a clip of Mac and me while he's here.
For thousands of years, your family has selflessly guarded the world from an unimaginable evil. Now, either she didn't tell you about it or you weren't listening.
It's real dumb that we're hinging some part of the movie's plot on Nadim's terrible relationship with his grandmother, especially since he mentioned having a well-adjusted brother who could have easily taken the mantle of Fire Master. And I have no idea why this demonstration of Fire Mastery wouldn't have excited a young Nadim.
I just do that.
Weird to say, but Kumail Nanjiani does more in this movie than he does in the Eternals.
I just wanted to talk to you about what happened at the police station.
No one will be seated during the Gary tries to have a heart-to-heart talk with Phoebe, but she's not there because she's in Washington Square scene. Movie misses out by not having a full-blown rave going on in this lab, just like Winston promised.
My spirit will be separated from my body for only 2 minutes. Then I'll regain consciousness.
Is that how you understand this machine? Because I understood it a completely different way. Earlier, we saw them suck the spirit out of the CD player, and it went into this second unit, where it was immediately disposed of. Now, I'm sure there are some neat commands you can give the machine to ensure that it doesn't vacuum the spirit away, but even if that's the case, we haven't seen anything about the spirit going back into the human body after this process. So why would Phoebe be able to show up as a fully functioning human-esque ghost girl, but the other possessions aren't? I think it's super weird that Phoebe's glasses made the cut during the spirit transfer.
A human voice is the key.
It is? And why didn't he use your voice to do the ancient language chanting thing? Okay, so maybe he needs a human voice coming from actual human lips, but then I don't understand why Phoebe's corporeal body and her ghost are both saying the words. Is he channeling those words through Phoebe's spirit, which uses ethereal net to make those words come out of Phoebe's actual mouth? By the way, whoever made this orb where it could be opened by a chant, total asshole as far as I'm concerned. Garaka is going to pay a visit to this smoke shop owner because it says Fire Master on the signage, but what kind of Google Maps told him to come here?
Are you the Fire Master?
Yeah,
Yeah, man, read the damn sign.
I'm halfway surprised Sarah Connor doesn't call this shop and say something on an answering machine that tells Garaka he got the wrong guy. Then Garaka shows up at Nadim's apartment, and I don't have any clue why he didn't start here in the first place. The guy was in an orb for years at this location. These horns go into Garaka's head like corn holders.
Should we call this one in?
Yeah, call this one in.
I sure am glad the movie had time to update us on the status of these guys from earlier. Neat, we're driving by the Hahn building again, and then instantly passing the office of the New York City Comptroller, which is so far away from the firehouse. So far!
Try shoplifting. Hey, that'd be fun.
If you're gonna give horrible advice, at least do it while watching the f***ing road! These guys have quickly become this series' minions. That's a good thing for some people, but it fills me with white-hot rage. Ecto-1 luckily gets to drive on streets that Garaka somehow hasn't covered in ice yet.
Garaka's coming for the containment unit to recruit every ghost in the tank we've ever caught.
Makes you wonder why I didn't come here first instead of doing all that day after tomorrow instead. Also, when you show me a powerful being like Garaka, I always wonder why they even need a army. You can turn all of New York City into Antarctica, and you still need underlings? Of course, this dumbass somehow got captured and tortured thousands of years ago, even with all that power, so maybe he does need an army. But that was information provided by bare-bones details in a movie script, so I can't trust that completely.
The new packs.
In a recurring theme for this movie, Winston's lab, once again, has apparently been holding back brand new proton packs from the people who actually do the ghost busting.
If I brass plate the components of my pack, it could give us a chance.
It could also f up some really intricate other stuff that doesn't want to have blobs of brass coming up its important parts. But hey, if you want to cook up a pan of molten metal in your breakfast nook, then who am I to stop? Hey, you're ruining that cast iron skillet. Those make the best fried eggs, you bastard.
Let's get to work.
Wait, when did this Winston who actually wants to bust ghosts get back? Last we saw, he was chastising Ray for being too old for this shit. And now he's rolling up his sleeves like he believes it's the end of the world. Where was the redemption conversation?
Can I be of any help?
I refuse to believe any of these people's eyesight is good enough to not have mistaken Bill Murray for a ghost and blast his ass. It's awesome that Nadim is using his power here, but are we sure that what comes out of the proton pack can be classified as fire? Also, good job, Nadim. Sacrifice the other non-important people outside the window rather than the plot-important people in the house. Woo! Movie expects me to believe that there was a whole uncut pizza just lying around in a box this entire time. It took 9 minutes of movie time for the ice to finally reach Ghostbusters HQ. 9 minutes should have been enough on its own, but we all know that hours have passed during that time.
Yeah, I actually did beat you at chess.
Two girls cosplaying as Magnus Carlsen and Hans Niemann somehow makes it into the movie. Jesus, how much rune farming am I gonna have to do to beat this guy in the new Elden Ring DLC? Remember when crossing streams was a big deal, but here it's sort of not a big deal and it's not even considered as a weapon of choice?
I'm trying to tell you guys our throwers are useless!
Obviously, you did not try hard enough, but I remember the scene and those assholes definitely heard you. Hell, Phoebe decided to put brass components in her proton pack for that very reason. So I don't know why they just forgot about that and why you didn't keep warning them about it as the 0 hour approached. Seeing Nadim's lighter not work makes me wonder why they didn't get the lab to create some flamethrowers, or Winston to buy some flamethrowers, or just get a bunch of matches and lighters and shit, since everyone knew fire was going to be important. This exact same scene from the original Ghostbusters is not accompanied by Mick Smiley's song Magic. I want to know how this hot dog stand didn't get all that much ice at all. The umbrella is f***ing pristine. Also, why are there people still outside after all that bullshit? Oh shit, Phoebe's hands are probably frostbitten, but that's okay. They probably built a prototype for a metal fist back at the Monarch site. They'll just have to get Dan Stevens to leave the new empire for the Frozen Empire. Whoa, wait, guys. You sure you don't want Harold Ramis to come back? He'd be okay with it, so I hear. Why were these assholes not under Garaka's control earlier? Is it because they're cute and on sale at your local toy store?
If we neutralize the mass energy density to reduce criticality.
I swear to God that this line was written by one of those people who write movie newspaper articles.
I can't hold it much longer!
He had no confidence and no real abilities until a few hours ago, and now he's able to check the oil on his tank and give updates on his fizzle-out ETA? Did his super metal suit give him a sudden awareness of his capabilities? We don't know. We don't even know how he fit into the suit. Anyway, I don't care what Ray was trying to explain about his idea. Ultimately, the best thing to say is, this works. I don't understand why the trap closes in on itself and makes a perfect seam. I'm sure Ray was going to explain that part before being told to shut the f up, but here we are, clueless.
When the light is green.
The whole world is clean.
Whoever coined that phrase can gag on a frozen Garaka pinky. If that were true, the whole world would be clean of ghosts by now, and the Ghostbusters would be more useless than they already are. No one sneezes out ghost particles in this scene. Movie isn't brave enough to show us hundreds of skewered corpses on this beach. And they fix this motherfucker fast. Everyone cheers at the end of a Ghostbusters film just before the inevitable lawsuits cliche. I'm telling you guys, Illumination should sue Sony for this so that both companies can lose a bunch of money and never put out Marshmallow Man and Minion content again.
Here's Johnny.
Are we talking about?
Listen, we talking about practice.
I had a question I wanted to ask you.
Do you ever feel, not so fresh?
Oh, there it is.
It's just a statue made of stone, see?
Not even a dummy like me. No, it's stone lion.
You are the fire master.
Now, what do you have to say for yourself, Mr. Pippin Paddleopsicopoulos?
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
Admit it, you are gonna miss me a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
Winter is coming.
You're doing it! You're playing with us, Peter. You're doing it.
You are no fire master.
Me? No, I'm not the fire master.
I can't hold it much longer!
Scotty to bridge! She can't take much more of this, Captain.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go, sir. Please. Please, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.